Good afternoon and welcome. And today we're here to talk self-care. But we're going to dive into this concept of self-care is not just another spa day. And this comes from a whole host of ideas and notions that we see marketed and promoted to us constantly. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm just seeing this idea of self-care being a soak in the tub or a day at the spa or a massage treatment or eating a slab of chocolate, all being marketed and promoted as self-care. And then we're wondering why we're seeing all sorts of stats and results and just live around us, all sorts of examples of where our self-care is failing. And we're seeing many examples, maybe even feeling it for ourselves in terms of where our self-care is just not at the standard that we expect it to be. Now, I'm not saying that the day at the spa is not a good thing, or the slice of chocolate cake is not a good thing, or the time out with your coffee and just pondering what is happening in the world is not a good thing. Actually, all of those things are beautiful, fantastic things. But when we talk self-care, we're wanting to know that whatever we're doing, whatever we're investing in our self-care is actually going to reap benefits into the future, is going to be able to give us the results that we're yearning for. What are the outcomes that we're looking for? So we're wanting to make sure that when we invest in self-care, it's not like we're just putting a plaster on a cut and expecting the massive deep wound that happened below that to instantly heal or magically heal. We're wanting to know that whatever we're putting in place and implementing is going to help us reap the sorts of results that we are wanting to reap on a much longer term basis. But before I go any further, let me maybe just give you a little bit of my backstory, because I haven't introduced myself as yet. You've said hi in the chat box, and I haven't said hi back and let you know exactly who you're listening to this afternoon. So my name is Usha Maharaj. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. My background is in corporate, where I spent 16 years in a Big Four audit firm. And after 6 years, I spent 6 years as a director in that Big Four audit firm. And since leaving corporate, 7 years now, I've been practicing as a coach and a mentor and investing a lot of time in leadership development and personal development, training and coaching and mentorship, and speaking and facilitation as well. So that's where I spend a lot of my time. On the family side, I'm a daughter. My parents are everything to me, a sister, cousin, and then a wife. My husband and my children mean the world to me as well. So I've got 2 teenagers, a boy and a girl. And what do I do now? And where do I invest all of my time and energy? I invest in helping women and young professionals achieve career success while creating balanced and happy lives. And that is the thing for me that I've been seeing more and more and more in the recent past, is the balance and the happiness versus the success. And it's almost like 2 opposing forces that we're having to deal with in our lives. The stories and the stresses and the pressures that my clients are experiencing and friends and family members are experiencing, it seems like we're reaching a point in this world, in our communities, in our own lifetimes, that if we don't do something, if we don't put some sort of measures in place to help ourselves, that we're going to reach a point where we're going to be beyond helping ourselves and definitely beyond helping others as well. Because that breaking point and that pressure point is coming so fast and so furiously, just because of everything we're having to deal with in the world as it stands today. So if we think back to 2 years ago, and it is that long now, so we're in 2021. So let's go back to 2019. And if we looked at all of the employee engagement stats, and if we looked at women in leadership and women in the workplace stats, it's August, it's Women's Month, so let's add a double of what we would have seen from a woman in leadership, woman in business perspective as well. We saw that stress was a factor that affected everybody. We saw that balance was a factor that came up as one of the top reasons that people couldn't last in the corporate workplace, that people had to look for other avenues in order to find their success and their career fulfillment, because the balance was missing in the workplace. We found that people were juggling just far too many roles, far too many responsibilities, and really just not coping under all of the pressure. And then you fast forward to 2020, where we thought, beautiful year, 2020 sounds so fabulous, just the number itself, a year of hope and an exciting year to achieve major goals. And then March comes around and we go into lockdown. And we've got the entire world going into lockdown, and normal as we knew it completely vanished. So we're coming from a space in 2019, entering 2020, where we thought balance was already out of kilter, where we thought we were already juggling far too many roles and responsibilities. And then we got into 2020, and we're no longer working like we did. We're no longer earning money like we did. We're no longer sending kids off to school like we did. We're no longer having boundaries in terms of I go to work, I come home. Now there's automatic boundaries and separation. Everything got put into the exact same pot. And where we thought we were juggling all of these balls, and it was already so difficult to manage, now everything got put together and we needed to manage all of it in one pot. And that pot is just being stirred ferociously. And the heat that's been applied to that pot is just nonstop. It's like somebody just keeps turning up the gas. Let's make it hotter. It's not hot enough there. And now in 2021, it's August 2021, it's been months and months and months, and we just keep hoping for the end so that we can breathe again. And that end just does not seem in sight. And people that I speak to just are tired. They're exhausted, they're frustrated, they're overworked, they're overloaded, and they're just wanting to reach a space where we can breathe again, where we can start to feel a little bit more in control of our lives, a little bit more in control of our journeys, a little bit more in control of the way we're responding to what is going on around us in life. And that is why we're having this conversation today, because self-care is not about the spa day. We can't fix what we're dealing with on the inside if all we do is take care of little bits of ourselves occasionally, not even often, occasionally on the outside. So let's look at a couple of stats here. South Africa ranks second. When we go rankings and we think, oh, South Africa's ranking second, that must be so excellent. But South Africa ranks second as the most stressed out country in the world. So second at the most stressed out country in the world, there we go, a ranking we do not want. We do not want to be in the top 10 at all. But South Africa ranking second from a stress perspective. So think about the people around you. Just think about yourself from a stress perspective. Think about you a year ago, 2 years ago, and what it feels like right now. Where are you on the scale of stress? And those stats are saying that as a country as a whole, it's just we're at boiling point. And then I looked at some other stats. Now, it's difficult to find deep stats just around South Africa or Africa, but I found stats for Britain, and then I found a lot of stats for the US. And the fact is, people are people. We're all dealing with very similar experiences, very similar circumstances, very similar changes. And in many instances, here in South Africa, we're feeling it at rates that are even more intense. And I'm not even going to talk about events that happened in July. For those of us that live in KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng, you know what I'm talking about. But intensive experiences that just go and serve to take what we had from a stress perspective and just almost blow through the roof. But let's look at some other stats. So we looked at these stats are coming out of a research report in Great Britain, and the report was released in November of last year. So it is taking into account some of what COVID has brought into the world. And then we go and say, but now it's now almost another year later, how much more intensive are these stats going to be if we look at those results at the end of this year? So from a work-related stress, depression, and anxiety in Great Britain perspective, if you look at the chart and they've tracked it over the years, 2019, 2020 has had a massive increase where we're going per 100,000 workers, almost 2,500 of them have reported or self-reported just intensive levels of stress, depression, or anxiety. So the levels that we're experiencing out there are massive. And you can already, just thinking about the circles of people you engage with, think about your colleagues at work, think about how people are responding and reacting, and how frustrated they are and how tightly wound a lot of people are. And you can relate back and say, okay, I can see it in my own circles. But these are results now coming out of Great Britain. And then we look at, so for those of you running businesses or managing teams, what is the direct correlation between those elevated levels of stress and anxiety in terms of working days lost? And here again, we see a massive spike from 2018, 2019 to 2019, 2020, where we're losing almost 0.7 days worth of work per employee in a 12-month period, just due to stress and anxiety. And, it might not seem like, well, that's a lot, but when you multiply it across your organization, across your teams, and you see the financial impact of it, we're losing, the economy as a whole is just losing hugely because of stress, depression, and anxiety. And then we look at, okay, so if we had to look at it based on different occupational categories, what does it look like? And really interestingly, if you look at this category of professional, a huge spike in the numbers of stress-related, workplace stress-related issues, associate, professional, and technical, sales and customer service. And the numbers are hugely high. And a lot of you might be saying, well, I'm in those industries, I'm in those sectors. That's the space that I work in. And you would be noticing it all around you and maybe even feeling it in yourself. And then when we look at how are individuals coping with stress from a gender perspective, and these results are not unique to Great Britain. I looked at research reports for the United States of America, where they reported very similar results, that women are impacted even more greatly than men. So they're not coping with stress as effectively as men are coping with stress, or they're not dealing with, or they're showing it very differently in their lives. So there's just so much that has been layered on us, that we're having to deal with, that we're having to navigate, that we're having to juggle. The impact is showing, and it's showing even more largely amongst women than it is amongst men. And if we look at the age groupings, and here again, the age groupings are not unique to Great Britain, very similar results coming out of the United States, where you're seeing the ages from 25 to 44. In the US, it was 25 to 49, where amongst that age group, you had the highest number of stress-related incidents that were happening. So if you're falling within these categories, if you're starting to think, okay, tick this box, tick that box, tick that box, and then start to honestly reflect within yourself, how has stress been impacting you? How has stress been impacting those around you? And is any of this now relatable to you? So start thinking about it. And then a few more stats before we move on, because maybe you're still sitting on the fence and you're saying, oh, this is not so real. I haven't really seen it around me. And maybe it's not relevant specifically to you, but it definitely is to a large number of people around us. So understanding this puts us in a position where we can not only just help ourselves, but we can help those around us as well, whether it's team members, family members, friends, colleagues, it doesn't matter. It just puts us in a position where we see things differently and we're able to support very differently as well. So here we've got other stats. 26% of UK study participants have shown increased stress, anxiety, and great sadness since COVID-19. So it's just, the well of emotions that we're having to deal with and process. And the fact is that those emotions have not been good emotions, bad emotions, happy emotions, sad emotions. The scale has been leaning towards the sad and the negative and the emotions that bring us down and just drain us. And so we're seeing it in the research as well. The most common symptoms of stress include irritability, frustration, and moodiness. I was in a coaching session this morning, and one of the participants said that she's so tightly wound. She's got 2 children, 2 and 4-year-old. and working from home. So you're sitting at your computer, you're having to deliver the goods to whoever needs you. There are no boundaries because people phone you at all hours. They send you an email. Expect that because you're now working from home, that you're working around the clock. And here comes little old 2-year-old baby girl who needs mom's attention. And who all she wants is to be loved. You can see mom there. She cannot differentiate between mom at work and mom at home. Mom in front of me is mom. And the response is just frustration. You know, you're so irritated that I've got to get all of this done, and now I'm having to smile and, you know, look calm. And unfortunately, those around us are going to get the knee-jerk responses first. So we've got to create that awareness of what's going on inside of us and how it's going to impact those that we love and care for around us. Another stat, around 77% of employees experience physical effects of stress. Now think about when you're feeling stressed out. Often you'll feel, oh my gosh, I have this knot in my neck, or you've got a pain in your back, or, you know, wherever it's showing up somewhere in your body is shouting and saying, pay attention, listen to me, something's going on in here, you need to deal with it. And a lot of those physical effects are stress-related physical effects that we've got to start taking seriously, or the repercussions are going to be so difficult and significant to deal with. Burnout is recognized as a chronic condition by the World Health Organization. Burnout is something we're seeing at just growing at a pace that we haven't seen in the past, and is something that we've got to recognize as very real and know that it's very real and could potentially impact us as well. We don't want to get to that point where we're fighting the fire. Put actions in place so that we don't need to deal with it at that point in time. 48% of people in the US report having sleep issues caused by stress. So think about yourself. Are you tossing and turning when you go to bed? You wake up in the middle of the night thinking about the to-do list or that email you haven't sent? Is it taking you a long time to fall off to sleep? And when you do, you're awake partway through again. So sleep issues are very real amongst those around us, and sleep issues have significant impact on just the way that we can think and reach solutions and be productive and perform at the level that we want to, and feel good about ourselves and have the energy that we need in order to get stuff done and think clearly. A lot of the problems we're experiencing find their roots in a lack of sleep, good sleep, recharging and rejuvenating sleep. Negative feelings about one's appearance cause a great deal of stress for 28% of survey respondents. How many of you are spending just aeons of time on Instagram? And have you seen that on Instagram, everybody looks perfect? Everyone sounds perfect. Everybody's background is perfect. Everything around us is perfect. And even though they might have taken out a photograph just pointing the camera this way, having a beautiful picture on their screens, and it looks like they're sitting at the beach or they're in this fancy restaurant or in this beautiful hotel room. They're posting pictures like that, making others feel less about themselves. But they're not making others feel less about themselves. We're choosing to feel less about ourselves because of what we're seeing posted on social media. And the social media activity has grown significantly during COVID because all of us have had time. We've spent a lot of time online. So we're seeing that reflected in the stats as well. 80% of college students frequently or sometimes feel daily stress. And think about college students, think about your teenagers and your children at school, and the amount of uncertainty they've had ever since COVID was brought into our lives. School is on, school is off. We're remote today, we're live tomorrow. Classrooms are now closed because there's a case that has been found, and you all need to self-isolate. The amount of stressors that they are going through is being reflected as well in the case study. So it's important, like I said, to understand how this impacts us, but also to understand how it's impacting those around us, and then being able to learn strategies to help not just ourselves, but help the people around us as well, whether they're children and college students, whether they're colleagues or family members. Everyone is going through something that might need some assistance from a stress perspective. 6 in 10 workers worldwide experience stress, according to a global stress statistics from 2026 in 10. That's 60%. So that's, if you look at, there are 60 of us on the call right now, 10 of us are experiencing stress. And I can pretty much assure you that it's a lot more when we're looking at, so think of all of the stats that they said before, the criteria that we were looking at before: women experiencing stress more than men, women in a certain age group experiencing stress more than men. So as you go through it in certain occupation groups and industries, then you look at what the family structure is, roles and responsibilities, and you do the survey, and you're going to find that a lot more people around you in your circles are experiencing the stress that they're talking about. And employee stress levels have increased by 20% in the last 3 decades. Employee stress levels, if you go Korn Ferry and look at their research, have always been so high. And the fact that it's increased 20% in the last 3 decades, and if you go, and I'm sure Korn Ferry might have more recent research, I couldn't find any when I was putting this together, but in the last year, you're going to find that that percentage has increased phenomenally. So now we know, right, there's a real problem. Yes, somebody might be struggling to cope with this. Maybe it's me, maybe it's somebody I know. Maybe I've just seen it out there. But there is a very real problem, and we need to look at ways to help ourselves and then to help others as well. And why is it that just going to the spa is not good enough, or going for a haircut and, you know, feeling all good after your hair is cut and colored and it's set so beautifully, or having a slice of chocolate cake and a coffee and thinking that you've now rejuvenated yourself, you've taken care of yourself? Why is it that is not good enough? It's because if we don't deal with the source of a problem, we're never going to be able to get rid of the problem, and we're never going to be able to deal with the problem. So the spa day is dealing with a symptom, and in that moment you felt like you needed a time out, so we dealt with the symptom. But where's the source of that problem? What caused us to feel like we needed that time out in the first place? What caused us to feel like we were at breaking point and we had to book the spa day because it was the only way to get out of that breaking point? So that is what we've got to go and look at and say, well, then how do we fix the source? So that when we're booking the spa days, we're booking it because we know that it's a treat and we love to bring treats into our lives, and we bring it from a space of joy, not from a space of, I have to book this now or I'm going to break if I don't have a time out and just focus on myself for a little bit. And the way we do that is to understand that caring for ourselves comes from caring for our bodies, our minds, and our spirit. And we've got to look at, well, if it comes from all 3 of these areas, how do we do that? And if we don't do that, what does it look like? So when we're not caring for ourselves, these are some of the things you might be saying. So you might be saying, I'm too hard on myself. I expect too much from myself and do not give myself enough credit. Now, if any of these statements resonate with you, just pop a yes into the chat box, and I'll know that it resonates with you or resonates with somebody around you. So you've seen this, you've experienced it, you know that it's real. So have you ever heard yourself saying things like this, or have you ever felt like this is what you would be thinking, or have you seen it around you? So just pop a yes into the chat box. I tend to push myself too much, even when my body cannot take it anymore, not saying no to too much work. So we're just, yes, I can do it, I can help, because we feel obligated. We need to roll up our sleeves. We're all in this together. But we keep saying yes, we keep saying pile it on, without recognizing the impact that it's having on us in the long term. And then maybe we're doing things. I'm getting lots of yeses into the chat box. So every time you see something that resonates with you, just type in yes. So, we fear of things not going right or not going the way I would like them to. I'm too self-critical. My confidence levels are low. I'm a perfectionist. So it takes a lot of energy just to get everything right. I've got to make sure that everything's perfect, and that drains me. Not knowing or focusing on my strong points. So I don't know what my strengths are. I don't know how to live in my strengths. I'm constantly trying to fix my weaknesses, and that's making me feel a little bit stressed as well. Maybe we're saying that I stay in a relationship that's going nowhere. So, people matter, relationships matter. But when we force ourselves to stay in a space where our energy is just being drained and sucked up and taken away, we're putting ourselves in a position where we're going to build up stress in our lives and unhappiness in our lives and discontentment in our lives. I am tired a lot and very frustrated in the evening. So we get through the day, we're just pushing. But by the end of the day, it's anything can just break me. It's almost like with this giant balloon that's overinflated, and absolutely anything coming towards us looks like a pin. We're short-tempered with the kids and feel frazzled and frustrated a lot. I'm always volunteering my time when that time should be given to the family or taking care of myself. So a lot of us in that position, we just say yes, we take it all on, and then we sacrifice the things that matter to us. We sacrifice the people that we value so highly because we're needing to give in another area of our lives. So we're always just giving. What about topping up our own reserves? I give in to others' ideas to maintain harmony. So we just say yes, you know what, I'll just do it because it's too much to ask to get this to be done the right way or to get my thoughts and my voice heard. And all of that is contributing to our stress. I can spread myself too thin and take full ownership of things. I always have a deep sense of wanting to fully invest myself and wanting to give 100% to a point where I stress about my capacity and not being able to do everything that's on my plate. So how many of you are like, just give it to me, I'll do it. I want to help. I want to care for you. I want to nurture. And then I will do everything. Bring it. And then eventually get to that point where there's just so much on that plate. How do you cope? How do you handle it? How do you deal with it all? Put too much pressure on myself by taking on too much, then can't cope and crash. Putting self-care and investment in self last on the list. So we're constantly giving to others, completely neglecting ourselves in the process. Always waiting until things are perfect or the timing is perfect. So I'll do that. I'll take care of me, but not today. There's no time for me today. I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow comes and we're so busy doing everybody else's everything and volunteering ourselves to get even more done, and tomorrow doesn't come. So we put it off until the next day. So we constantly overcommit, but we overcommit in areas and doing tasks and activities that are not us. So, we've got so many of you saying, yes, that's me, all of the above. And that is the reality. So this is not, we're not talking about this today because it is a nice to have. We're talking about this today because if we don't address it, if we don't fix it, if we don't put steps in place, then we're going to be looking around us and just seeing broken, shattered people everywhere. And we're going to be looking in the mirror and seeing a broken, shattered person, lacking energy, lacking vitality, lacking vibrance, when you are all of those things and more. So let's learn what we should be doing. You want to put yourself first. You want to prioritize self-care. And even if you don't, even if you have never thought about it, now that you've seen the stats, you've seen the reality, you've read the comments, everyone's saying, yes, that's me. It's an ugly truth, Sephora, exactly. But it's the reality. So let's look at how can we deal with self-care. What are some of the tips and strategies that you can go away and implement for yourself? So I'm going to split it into 3 areas, and we're going to look at it from a body, mind, and a spirit perspective. From a body perspective, from a mind perspective, starting with the mind, always for me, and I hope for you as well, from today going forward, we always look at how can we create change in our lives from the inside out. And the inside is how are we thinking? What are our belief systems doing? How am I using my mind and my brain power and my thinking power to completely shift and change my experience in the world into a space that I want it to be? So from a mind perspective, here are a couple of things that you must prioritize and you must start looking at. Number 1, personality. You've got to know yourself so well from the inside out. You've got to know all of your strengths. You've got to know all of the areas that will show up as weaknesses for you. You have to know when your strengths are becoming derailers. So we've all got strengths. We've all got areas of improvement or weaknesses. And sometimes we take our strengths and we live in those strengths, but we overuse the strengths. And when we overuse a strength, it comes across at times as overpowering, and it just becomes too much. So our personality needs to serve us, and it needs to be used in a way that gets the best out of the people around us and gets the best out of ourselves. And so we've got to constantly be learning about our personality, our strengths, and how to maximize the value that we're getting out of that personality for ourselves and then for everybody else around us as well. Then we must look at our belief systems. A lot of the stress we create in our lives come from the things that we hold on to as beliefs. And beliefs are a funny thing, because when we look at a belief, we think that it's a fact. And the only fact here is that your beliefs are not facts. They are fiction and fallacy that you've created over a lifetime. So you've looked at your parents, you've looked at all of your experiences in your life, your community, marketing, so society, your company's influence on you. So we've been influenced from the outside throughout our entire lives. And through that influence, we've been building up a list, and that list is long, a list of beliefs that we hold on to and think that they're the truth, that they're a fact, and that our lives should be lived aligned to these beliefs. And when we can't live aligned to the beliefs, it creates stress within us. So a belief might be that if I work overtime, so if I work anything other than 8 to 5, then other than 8 to 5, so I now have to work until 7 p.m. My belief is that the company is taking advantage of me. Now, you would be called upon to work overtime a lot, especially through all of the uncertainty. And every time you're called upon to work overtime, you're thinking that this company is taking advantage of you. They're using you. Now, that's the belief system you're holding on to. That belief system starts to create a lot of stress in your life, even though maybe all they're doing is asking you to work overtime twice a month because of something that's been created in the business. On the flip side, we've got somebody whose belief system is, I've got to work hard. I have to do everything that needs to be done. I have to earn my place in this company. Even though you've earned it and you're delivering top-notch results, you believe that you constantly have to earn your right to be in this company. And this company now asks you to work overtime continuously. They've taken down all the boundaries. There's no reward or recognition or anything to go along with it. If they call at 10, you must answer at 10 p.m. You must answer and you must deliver. But your beliefs are, well, I need to work hard. I need to constantly prove myself. I need to constantly be available. Those beliefs are beliefs that are causing you to sacrifice your well-being, sacrifice the people around you, sacrifice your health, sacrifice your sanity. And you're doing it because you believe that that is the way it should be done. So we have to, any single time we feel stress welling up inside of us, we feel any sort of negativity, we've got to stop and we've got to ask ourselves, is it coming from a personality strength that's being overused, a personality weakness? Is it coming from a belief system that is now causing me and leading me to feel this way? And what can I do about it? That's the magic question thereafter, is what can I do about it? What can I implement today so I stop feeling that way tomorrow? Another area when we're looking at self-care and we're looking at managing our lives better and just taking back control from a mind perspective is to recognize the power and the potency of fear and worry. Fear and worry that we've got, whether it's fears and worries about the past, whether it's fears and worries about something we're doing in the present, whether it's fears and worries about the future. And there's just a lot to be afraid of these days. There's a lot that's been brought upon by COVID-19 and then all sorts of other activity that's happening wherever we live. There's a lot that's happening in our household. There's a lot that's affecting the people that we love. There's a lot affecting the companies that we work for and employ us and the companies that pay us on a monthly basis. So we've got a lot to be afraid of, a lot to worry about. But anytime we taint what we're trying to do for the day and what we're trying to do in the moment with fears and worries, so you almost put your fear and worry glasses on and you look through it, everything changes color. Everything changes color, it becomes darker. And when we're looking at things through dark glasses, so just picture yourself walking to a dark room, there's no light, and you put on sunglasses, what are you going to be able to see? Very little and sometimes nothing. And you're going to miss all of the things in that room that were of value and importance because you can't see anything. And when we walk around just in that state of fear and worry, it's like walking around with sunglasses the really dark tinted sunglasses in a room that's got bad light to start with. So you've got to take it out, and you've got to recognize this is what's happening. Get rid of those glasses and start to look at things clearly. Start to look at what's really there, what's really going on around, what can we control. We've got to look at the things that trigger us. So, we saw a couple of comments, and maybe you've experienced it as well. You get so wound up by the end of the day that even if your gorgeous 2-year-old comes to you and goes, "Mom, I need this," but they're just wanting to play with you and get some attention, that's enough of a trigger to make you snap. So we've got to look at our triggers and our moods and how it's impacting our decisions, our behaviors, our actions, and how it's impacting those around us. Now, all of this together can be banded under the heading emotional intelligence. And if you're not working on developing your EQ or emotional intelligence on a daily basis, you're going to suffer from a stress perspective. So there's a lot we need to take care of when we're trying to develop ourselves and grow ourselves from a self-care perspective. Caring for self means not allowing yourself to fall into any traps that's going to take away from your happiness, from your balance, from anything that you value in life. That is what self-care is. That is why self-care is not going to the spa for a day and thinking that all will be well. The other two areas that you think about when you're thinking about how do we take care of our minds, how do we really make sure that our minds are in a position that it's going to enable us to create this life that we love and we're happy in, and maybe not even all the way to the extent of happy, but that we're no longer always stressed in, that we're not so tightly wound up in, that we're managing our lives a lot better and feeling a lot more in control and in charge in. The other area is values. So understand what it is you value most in life. And we value things like our family, our careers, our wealth, our rest and relaxation. So we all value different things, but it's understanding what we value and then making sure that we're always nurturing and caring for what we value most. And if we're doing anything that's out of alignment, so we're taking an action and it's hurting something that we value, know that it's going to automatically create stress within you. And you're not even going to know where it's coming from. You're just going to feel unsettled. You're going to feel unhappy. You're going to feel stressed out. It could be coming from values not being aligned with the actions that you're taking, the words that you're speaking on a daily basis. And then goals. If we don't have purpose, if we don't have direction in life, if we don't know why we're doing today what we're doing and how it's contributing to tomorrow and the future, then we're going to feel at a loss. And anything that's happening is going to be a source of frustration and stress in our lives. So there's a lot to be learned and to be practiced when we look at how do we care for ourselves, how do we manage stress, how do we manage anxiety. The first layer is definitely taking care of everything that's going on up here in our minds. The next area, the next level is our bodies. So if we allow the body to break, everything that we want to do is not going to be possible. So we've got to take care of this vessel that's enabling us to do all of the things that we want to do, enabling us to achieve the goals, enabling us to live the life that we're wanting to live. But the first thing that we neglect when we get also busy, also stressed, is our bodies and our own well-being. So if we learned nothing else through COVID-19, it should be that our bodies are precious and we need to care for it and take care of it like it is precious. Self-care involves doing the things you need to do in order to take care of your body as well. And taking care of your body definitely does include a massage every so often. I mean, that's beautiful, right? But the massage is not making sure that everything on the inside is working like it should. It's not making sure that the nutrition is happening, that we're thinking about our physical activity, that we're thinking about how we can use our body to create more energy in our lives and how energy can be sent back to our bodies. So we've got to think self-care, we must think mind, then we must think body. So there's 3 layers. And then the last layer is spirit. And that comes from how do we fill ourselves and feel like we're making a contribution, we're adding value in this life. We feel positive and we've got things, even when everything around us feels like it's crumbling and falling apart, we've got something to hold on to and be grateful for. We've got something to be thankful for. We've got something to feel happy about. Even when things just feel at their darkest around us, that we're able to tap into some sort of energy source and still get us through it. And that comes from what we're feeding ourselves from a motivation and inspiration perspective. It comes from how we're doing gratitude practices, whether it's on a daily basis, whether it's on a weekly basis, but it's how we taking these practices and implementing them so that we can nourish ourselves and our spirit and have that energy and that vibrance and that positive attitude that all comes from how we're nourishing and nurturing our spirit. It's practicing forgiveness. It's letting go of things that weigh us down and make us feel shackled in the moment. It's using tools like affirmations to convince ourselves almost, in order to get stuff done in a way that we're wanting to get it done. It's practicing kindness and caring. So when we think self-care, we have to be thinking all of the layers of caring for self. And those 3 layers are your body, your mind, and your spirit. And that is why self-care is not just another day at the spa. Self-care is much bigger, much broader than that. And it's why we've got to be investing in learning how to do it, making it practical for ourselves, and implementing strategies and practices to just help us to take better care of ourselves. So I'm going to pause right there and look to the chat box. If you've got a question, a comment, a thought, if you've got an insight, new awareness, pop it into the chat box. I am super interested to read about it. So you share that in the chat box, and I'm going to pick up on all of those in a minute. But before I get to your comments, so type them up already, I want to ask you this one question. If self-care is a priority for you, if it is something you do want to prioritize and take care of and invest a little bit of time and energy in, and if you would like me to help you to get that done. So if you're ready, you're saying, I'm ready, let's get set and let's go. Then I've put together a challenge that is a 15-day self-care challenge that starts in a couple of weeks on the 4th of September. Registrations close into the challenge on the 31st of August. And I put this challenge together because I am seeing firsthand the struggles that are being experienced because people do not understand that self-care is about mind, body, and spirit, and that there is no quick fix. We need to learn the strategies, and we need to find ways to implement it so that we can get the best out of it for ourselves and then for our lives as well, and for people around us as well. So it's priced ridiculously low. It's 265 rands for 15 days worth of coaching. All happens online in a Facebook group. You'll have access to videos and just all sorts of goodies to help you to implement self-care in your life, but then to also help you to learn what self-care actually means and how you can start practicing it and getting the benefits out of it for yourself. So a lot of value, huge bonuses included. There's value from our sponsors to worth over 2,600 bundled into the self-care challenge. And then there's lucky draw prizes as well, over 10,000 rands. But that should not be the reason you sign up. The reason you sign up is because you should want to learn how to prioritize self-care for yourself. So I'm going to thank you, Karen. That is a great offer. I think so as well, because coaching is by no means easily affordable. And coaching in this sort of approach makes it affordable to absolutely anybody who wants to learn and develop from a self-care perspective. So if that's you, then you should definitely sign up. I'm not even saying think about it. I'm saying sign up because you don't often get opportunities like this. But now that I've shared the challenge with you and I've talked to you about self-care, I want to dive into the comments and look at what you've got to say and what you're sharing and your insights and any questions that you might have. Now's definitely the time to pop it into the chat box, and I'm going to pick it up. So let me dive right in and look at what are the questions we've got in here, if there are any. And if you've had insights, now's the time to share it. If there's any takeaways you'd like to share, pop it into the chat box. I can get through it as well going through your comments right now. So let's, I'm scrolling. There are a lot of comments I need to get through. Sepokazi says, thank you for this, Queen. So insightful. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so cool. I am blushing. If you can't see it, being called Queen is actually so cool and so fun. So thank you, Sepokazi, right back at you. I've got lots of people that were saying that's me when I was going through the example. Sephora says, this is the ugly truth. Now I know I am not alone. You are definitely not alone. Kirsten, yes, you'll all get access to the replay. Livawani says, thank you so much. This is very informative. There's a lot we need to take care of. Wow, very interesting. Body, mind, and spirit. Yes, exactly. Always body, mind, and spirit. Renee says, I never realized that self-care means taking care of my body, mind, and spirit. It's brought new understanding to how I really take care of myself. Well, I think that's exactly what the objective was here today. So self-care is not just another spa day. You've got to really invest in taking care of yourself, because when you do, life just works better. When you do, you're a lot less frustrated. When you do, your health and wellness is a priority. Your family is a priority. Absolutely anything you value in your life becomes a priority. And that's how we should be living our lives. Karen, what a great offer. Thank you, Karen. I think it is. I really do. Chika, the greatest slogan in the professional world is multitasking. For me, multitasking is one leading cause of stress in the workplace. Yes. So when we talk multitasking, we believe that we can multitask, especially if we're women and we go like, oh, I can multitask. I can get this done. The reality is, if we're trying to do intensive tasks that require mind power, it's really it's impossible to multitask. When we're combining one task that we can run on autopilot, so it doesn't even require us to consciously think about it, and another task that we might need to pay some attention to, then we can multitask. So I'll give you a quick example. For myself, it's cooking and listening to a podcast. You can do both, because you're cooking on autopilot, and then you can focus, give half attention to the podcast. But you cannot do two high intense thinking tasks at the same time. That's a fallacy. But it is important to combine tasks that don't require huge thinking power. Renee says, I've signed up for the challenge. Thank you, Renee. Sibukazi self-care challenge sounds good. It is really good. Tandu Kolo, thanks for the informative session. Absolute pleasure. Zenobia, thank you, Usha. This has been so helpful. We sometimes choose to bury our heads in the sand instead of taking control. That is exactly true. Celeste, I am so bad at self-care. I almost forgot about the webinar. Celeste, use your diary, please. Set reminders. Bronwyn says, brilliant. Thanks, Usha. Can't wait to start the challenge. I can't wait to start the challenge either. I am really, really looking forward to it. We're going to have a lot of fun on it, and I think we're all going to learn a lot together. So the self-care challenge starts on the 5th of September. Registrations close very soon on the 31st of August. You can find it through my website, or I'll post a link there. And when we send out the replay as well, we'll include a link. I am about to wrap up the session. If you have any questions, now is the time to pop it into the chat box. If you would like to know absolutely anything, pop it into the chat box now. Tandu, I always get stuck on your name. I'm so sorry. Your name's beautiful. Tandu Kolo. There we go. Do you mean 15 minutes a day for 15 days? Yes, I do. I want you to learn that self-care does not need hours every day. We often don't do it because we believe that self-care is going to take just too much of time, too much of energy. In fact, you can implement practices every single day that aren't going to take you hours to get done. And when you choose the ones that you love and you can see the results that it's bringing into your life, then you can start to build on it. But start small, just so that you get started. So that's what I'll be teaching you, how to keep it practical. I'm all for practical and simple. Yes, so I do mean 15 minutes a day for 15 days. 15 minutes every day for 15 days. There we go. And Nicole says, thank you very, very, very much. Very thought-provoking. Thank you very much, Nicole. Chika says, you are great. I think you're great as well. Thank you so much, Chika. So I think that is all I want to share with you today. If I've created new insights, wired new thinking in your brain around how important it is to care for yourself, then my work here is done. I just really hope that you take away some of the tips and strategies that I've shared and start implementing them today, and create even greater awareness around how stress is affecting you, how anxiety might be affecting you, and also how it might be affecting those around you, whether it's team members, whether it's friends, whether it's family, and then help others to learn a little bit more about self-care as well, so that they can start taking care of themselves. Madoda says, thank you for sharing your insights. absolute pleasure, Madoda. So thank you very much for joining. Please, you can say goodbye in the chat box, and then I'm going to allow you to head back into your day and to do whatever it is you're needing to do to get through today. And I hope that you've taken away an insight or two that will help you. And I do hope that I see you on the Self-Care Challenge, because I really do think it's going to be a brilliant game changer for many people.